Hello everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today's video is, every word Kamala utters makes me cringe. Bravo, Mike Pence. Just a little bit of a response to the VP debate last night. I didn't even watch all of it. We didn't even watch all of it, rather, because it was, it's getting late, and when you put down the kids, it's like you're already tired, and so then you start watching this, and it's like, even Mike Pence, who I think did a pretty good job, and again, accentuates Trump quite nicely. He's almost like too calm and collected, but, it's, even though I might agree with his answers for the most part, except for the part about how, great vaccines are and whatnot, but it's not very exciting, right? With Trump and Biden, it might have been chaotic. You might not have been able to hear stuff, but it was at least entertaining to watch. Again, like, Trump is like a political wrestler, right? He's like a political pro wrestler at this point. And that's why the country loves him, including myself, because, again, he's breaking illusions. He's not breaking anything that's real and valuable, except for the people who spin these illusions, right? They're very valuable to them. But ultimately, it's not anything that harms the average American, the American citizen, that in destroying these illusions. It actually serves them, because the things that hold up the evil parts of our society are those illusions, those psychic mirages that make people think that there is authority where there is not, and that there is not authority where there is, right? And it's, again, the inversion of the actual reality, creation, and the objective structure that underpins it. And again, in that inversion, that universal structure is converted into universal chaos and materialism. And, so it's funny, and this is, of course, all relevant, as it always is, because Kamala Harris is a perfect example of just a rank materialist whose sole purpose in life is just hell-bent on acquiring more power over other people. The way that she speaks makes me it makes me cringe. Every single word she utters, she sounds like such a brazenly corrupt person who has been ensconced in unaccountable levels of power for a long time, and it's so transparent in her voice how false she is, and why she always has that smile, that fake bitchy smile, for every question, even on solemn topics. We're talking about like COVID and all these other things, and I don't think it's that solemn. Even with 200,000, again, statistically, it's still 1/4 of heart disease and 1/3 roughly of cancer. It's like, but nobody really cares about actually saving lives. They just like to posture. They just like to pretend like they have virtue, to mask the fact that they actually don't even believe their virtue is a real thing. And, it's all this show, right? They're the people, the puppet masters in Plato's allegory of the cave. And the brainwashed citizen, fixed in their environment and being controlled through behavioral modification techniques, refined over centuries, is basically those who are chained in the cave and watching the shadows on the wall. They know nothing of actual reality or what these forms even symbolize, other than what they're being told by the puppet masters and the story that they are weaving with the interaction of the shadows, right? But whereas Mike Pence is a religious person, obviously, he is a man of spirit, right? He believes that there is a purpose to life, and it comes through in his speech. He might be very attuned to how he presents himself, but again, he had like a radio, talk show host background, so that's kind of one of the prerequisites for that job, is knowing how to control your auditory patterns and produce content that is actually easy for people to listen to, easy enough for people to listen to, and he's just extremely calm and collected, and in inflection that actually makes you concerned about what he's concerned about. Like, Kamala, I'm just bothered by how you are putting down science. It's just like, you're like, oh man, Pence is really bothered by this right now. He might be accentuating himself, but I believe that that's, a fairly genuine aspect of who Pence is. He's a man who believes in universal order and structure, and is comfortable and humble and graceful within that pattern. And he finds, obviously great meaning and contentment in it. And obviously it's led him to, successful places in life. But he's just a very coherent man. The most coherent in terms of speech of the four. Like, he's more coherent than Trump. That is absolute. Like, I still like Trump more. That's the president's job, is to be basically, that, again, the alpha, and the vice president is kind of like the country's beta, right? It's like, there's a legitimate function to, in actual psychology, what they're referring to by a beta is somebody who just does well, working with a leader, like being the second in command. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you're always wanting to be subservient. It's just there are natural, positions within the power structure. And there's people who are more intense than myself, and I happily will be, in a beta position, if you will, to that alpha, right? And because they can do it better than I can, and I recognize that. And then in other cases, there's, people who are just, again, given power, they've accumulated just this web over, many years, and so they just kind of demand respect and power where they haven't earned it. And, I have absolute and true respect for actual leaders. I have absolutely no respect. I have the antithesis of respect. I have absolute contempt for those who demand respect when they aren't actually producing the value that they claim to be, master of. So, again, if you clean your mind, body, and soul, you can hear the difference in people's voices. It's very apparent in how a person speaks and presents themselves, whether or not they care about the truth and are actually, acting for, their own genuine interest and others' genuine interest, and presenting that intent, on the surface, versus somebody who is just basically putting on a show, putting on a mask, right? Just singing a song that they think that other people want to hear, so that they will get more favor, right? Again, it's the features of narcissism, which most boomers are hopelessly infected with because of the television. And it's funny because social media does the same, but it's almost like the fulfillment of that. Like Andy Warhol's 15 minutes of fame. Well, now everybody gets to pretend like they're famous all the time and just upload everything about themselves, blah, 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 to ad nauseum, ad infinitum. But ultimately, it's funny because the boomers are the ones who grew up so craved for that and just were starved and just wanted to be the TV stars, but they couldn't actually be the TV stars. And then the boomers get a hold of social media and they're like, oh my God, it's like crack to them. It's like freaking a meth, crack, fentanyl, opium cocktail. And it's just basically, it just drives them wild to have their narcissism just fulfilled in such a voluminous fashion. And, they get to endlessly please their own narcissistic, self-gratification. And they get so upset when other people don't fulfill it on those social platforms. So they just, again, it's like an addiction. They just keep going more and more. And again, the greatest, favor Mark Zuckerberg ever did for me was his minions and his robots banning me from their platform, saving me all that time, energy, and just psychic force in general. All that momentum has now been placed in such a better utility, and things are about to notch to an entirely new orbital. And again, I very much look forward to having more concrete details and potentially places to film from, and patterns in life in general. Again, it's about finding organization to the energetic pattern and building that structure. Again, the true man of spirit, the man of God, understands that there is this structure. It is marvelous. It is splendid, and it is really amazing to be a part of it if you just accept that humility and understand that there are things you can change and there are things you cannot change. And it's like what's the saying goes, God gave me the courage to recognize that and act upon the things I can change. Give me I don't even know how it goes, but give me the grace to acknowledge which things I can do and which things I can't do. And the things that I can do, I shall have the courage to go forth and do them. And the things that I can't do, I'm not going to let that bother me, right? I'm going to just accept that, again, there's things that are cosmic, and then there's just things you can't change right now. But down the line, if you can build power, if you can actually build a structure and a platform from which to operate, well then, my friend, it's all, a hologram in a sense, and we can create whatever our minds can imagine if we have the capital, resources, and ingenuity to make it happen. And the ultimate capital is energy, and the ultimate energy is psychic energy, the ether. And so if you can make yourself into a nuclear reactor of energy, again, clean the mind, body, and soul, you will be a powerhouse, and you will change the world like it's nothing. Like from when you're awake and when you're asleep, even when you're not working per se, your mind is always working. You're always building something. That's just how it goes when you free up the energetic currents within the body. And for a long time I've had my mind open, but it took a lot of work to open up the body's electrical current and basically perform the emotional and spiritual healing as well. But once all those circuits start firing in tandem in a coherent, constructive waveform interface, well, then again, that's where you enter into the next level of humanity, which we are now evolving into as a result of that union with spirit. And again, very exciting to behold. And again, the Mike Pence versus Kamala Harris is so archetypal of the just general worldviews in play. Again, I don't even know what sect of Christianity Mike Pence is, but I probably agree with him on far more things than not. And I think that actually he seems like a guy that the things that we don't agree on, he would accept a range of, hey, well, I respect you for stating your opinion, and we'll agree to disagree. And that's what's great about America. I believe that would be his genuine response. But of course we're not talking about people who are pro-life versus pro-choice anymore. We're talking about people who are pro-life versus pro-abortion and pro-death, right? Because again, if there's a big difference between accepting a necessary evil and promoting something and saying that there shouldn't be a stigma. That's like saying there shouldn't be a stigma for rape or murder, because it's just their life context and you don't know why that guy had to rape someone. Maybe he was just poor, and maybe he was oppressed, and maybe it was all the white people's fault. It really is. It's like the mindset is all broken, and Kamala Harris should be an effective debater. She was a prosecutor. She prosecuted a whole bunch of people of color in the state of California for simple things like marijuana possession. And so everybody knows that. Again, Tulsi Gabbard basically just destroyed her during the primaries, but she is the establishment's candidate. She is the new Hillary Clinton. And so basically they found a way to just, slam her in there. Basically, again, Biden, they slammed him in there, and then basically this was the plan from the start. And I could feel it because she is there. She is exactly what they need and what they are, more importantly. And she, again, is so transparent how corrupt she is and how false she is. And the people who think that she's a strong, empowered woman are false and corrupt themselves, universally. And, the men who would support a ticket where she could, plausibly become president with Joe Biden's, age and mental infirmity, I mean, your man card is hereby revoked, my friend. There's just no way that you can claim to actually have any testosterone in your body and to have, meat and two veg between the buns and still say that, I support Kamala Harris and she's a strong, empowered woman. Again, I'm all about strong, empowered women in the real sense, like Amy Coney Barrett, and basically the women who don't expect anything special and claim that they've been oppressed. They claim to be working within the divine pattern, the same as men are, and fulfilling that great station and doing that supreme work and fulfilling the destinies of others, enabling them to fulfill their destinies rather than be quashed by the evil schemes of basically corrupt and evil people. Like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They are slime balls. They are swamp creatures. And it's so transparent. And I think even the socialists recognize it, that, even though Kamala is supposedly like this super liberal senator, I think the fact that they're flip-flopping on things like fracking and the Green New Deal and a lot of different aspects of the platform, they're saying on their website and to the various audiences that they do support these things, and then when they're questioned on it in a more national venue like these, they have to, they don't want to appear socialist, so they basically backpedal and say, no, we're not in support of banning fracking. That's a fact. We're not in favor of the Green New Deal, but in reality, they've already said on multiple occasions that they are. So there's Trump may be a lot of things. You may not like how he presents himself. You might not agree with the policies that he has enacted. But I just feel like when you listen to both parties, you have to admit that Trump is he's being genuine in the main. He is again, in politics, nobody can be 100% truthful, but he is very truthful for a politician of that level. And again, he came in with his own momentum. He came in with his own media clout and his own platform. Again, Twitter, and this was why they're shutting down all of the platforms now and their ability to create another Trump, which is why the building of those alternative platforms is absolutely of pinnacle importance. And, luckily, again, it is happening. And you can find this video on BitChute as well as YouTube, because eventually YouTube will not want these videos on here at all. They've already throttled it to the max, basically, as I've mentioned many times. And, again, this is more recreational for me than anything. So it's like I'm not going to spend a lot of time complaining about it. But I would like to see the message go out more. I would like to be on a platform, a widespread platform that actually allowed what YouTube used to do, right? Of the actual promotion and development of independent content. But now, unless you're basically a transgender makeup artist, or somebody just endorsing official Democratic policies, you're just going to be gone eventually. But, again, BitChute may not be the best platform in the world, but at least it's there, it's functional, and it seems to work. So, we'll see what comes next. Again, I'm still very looking forward to Voice on the EOS blockchain, but we will see. So yeah, that's, I guess, the last thing. It's just, I cringe even thinking about the number of people that listen to Kamala Harris and think that and like how she speaks. To think that's like I'm speaking. Like, oh my God. We couldn't even watch the whole thing because she's just so intolerable. Just see you next Thursday. Levels of intolerable. Just a miserable woman. And just, again, it would be one thing if she was, there's forms of bitchiness that can be, effective in politics. And I feel like both Hillary Clinton and Kamala tried to be that, but they both fail. I mean, Kamala in presentation and her voice is worse than Hillary Clinton. And Hillary was horrible. But Kamala is just, again, so transparently false and just contemptuous of her audience, right? She thinks that people are idiots, and the people that she's trying to get to vote for, I mean, for the most part, they are idiots. They'll believe whatever feels nice in their own little, like cuckold beta, mental program worldview. For those that are men. And then, of course, the hyper-feminist, just drivel and oppression narrative for actually the most privileged people in the world, which is, white women. Gotta find a way to be a victim somehow when you don't have the actual psychic structure that is aligned with the field of God, and understand that those archetypes are valid and always replicating for a very important reason. And the fact that we get to participate in that, we are offered the opportunity to participate in that, is the greatest miracle that happens literally every single second of every single day. And, but it's not important to those who think that a career in a cubicle is more important than actually producing a family. The people who think that enabling people to, chop off their genitals and basically perform, cosmetic surgery to make them into just, whatever the hell they want and pretend like all of society has to bend around it. I mean, it's not going to be accepted by the average person. There's only so far that this browbeating works before people start to say, you know what, GTFO, and like, I'm just, basically I will absolutely do violence to you if you try and push me any farther. And especially in this country where we have a legacy of the Bill of Rights, right? There's only so far that it's going to go, and I think it's reached its zenith, and now it's starting to flow back to the sea. And that's when it's time for us to charge the beach, my friend. And we'll see about that. But in any case, it's very much looking good, at least on the surface front, as far as the development of the timeline. And so again, it's take it all as entertainment value, because that's ultimately what it is, and know that you, based on your action, are proceeding forward to build the kingdom of heaven and create that little miracle in your own life, in your own field. So yeah, that's my video today, and I hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Ah.